and Ahmadis being a small community, I'm assuming that they're very close knit and that they're very a tight knit circle. And so being ostracized from that community is probably a big thing, because obviously you're not accepted into a larger community of the Sunni Muslims. You're not accepted by anybody else. So you're already dependent on the community you have, and then being forced out by them, probably economically and just even socially, is probably a big deal. Am I right?
Yeah. So let me explain. And before I explain, Jesus in India goes deeper than that. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad found a grave, brother. There was a grave of a famous Buddhist, the son of a Buddhist prince, Yuz Asif, and he says that is actually Isa's grave, right? And then, have you heard of the city in Pakistan called Murray?
Yeah. Yes. I think in the mountain areas, right? In the mountains or something.
After Mirza Ghulam Ahmad died, Ahmadiyya spin doctors said that Mary, Jesus' mom, died in Murray.
And that's why it's called Murray?
And that's not true. I looked it up. When the British were in British India, they created that whole area of Murray. It was an army locale. They built a church there for the Catholics who were in the military. So, brother, it goes deeper. I could talk for hours about just that thing. So, okay, let's get back to the topic. So I was told on by a close family member. He told my dad, your son just admitted to me that he's against the local president. So my dad began to persecute me. In fact, brother, they tied me up. And I ain't never been tied up in my life after. And it was crazy, brother, the way they treated me like a redheaded stepchild. So the community.
Wait, what do you mean they tied you up, bro? Like they tied you up in a basement or something? Like what were they like kind of like deprive you of food or something? Like what were they doing?
No. So I was at my dad's a tire shop. They tied my hands behind my back and put me in the back seat of the car and took me home.
Wow, I'm not laughing at you, but I'm like thinking like, God,
brother,
the reason why I'm laughing, bro, is because you always hear, oh, the Ahmadiyya, the persecuted, all these violent Muslims out there, they want to come get you. And here you are, like handcuffing your own son with a rope. You know what I mean?
Just because I asked a question. So this was, I knew something was up. But brother, it was 1991. There's no Google. Like how could I know? How could I know what this is about? At that point in time, there were 2 books of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad in English. I don't even know who he is. All I know is what they tell me. So I'd show up and I'd walk out of their meetings. I'd pretend to go to the bathroom. I'd grab a football. I'd be out back playing football, playing basketball. I'd dip out, not involved, right? So I had a lot of resentment from all the local Ahmadis. Why doesn't he care? So there was a lot of child abuse, brother. Like they abused me like you would not believe it. I used to tell my other cousins, my family tried to kill me, and they're like, "What do you mean they tried to kill?" Well, what they tried to turn me into a monster, right? As you know, if you have a kid and you beat him every day, he's gonna be violent, and that could lead him to go to jail, and that could lead him to do all these other things, right? And I had another brother who also was questioning like me. And they didn't go to the extent that they did with me, but they basically tried to ruin him, and they succeeded. So I was able to get through it. And I think of the Quran, like I didn't even know what the Quran meant, but like back then, but only Allah guides. But brother, and I have to believe, I'm a football player, a basketball player, a baseball player. I could take a lot of punishment. You know what I mean? And I think Allah made me like this because He knew.
Alhamdulillah, bro. No, I mean, for me, I can't understand that. Like, putting that kind of pressure on a child, like, just for asking a question. It wasn't even like you're being disrespectful or like coming out, like using vulgarity. Or a question is something that's natural. Anyone who has children knows that, children will always ask questions. Like that's what they do, right? And it's your job as a parent to deal with those questions, right? You never want to have.
In Ahmadiyya, you cannot question the Khalifa, and you cannot question the local president because he's a representative of the Khalifa. So that's how they look at it. And if you question the Khilafat, they'll slander you and call you a Shia, and they'll call you like a Mavia, which is what I've been called as someone who questions the Khilafat. So it goes deeper, brother.
So let's say that's Muawiyah, basically like Muawiyah. So let's say you're oh wow, so they actually used the Shiite argument against the Sunnis. Oh wow, wow, oh wow, like
Yeah, brother. And brother, remember, I'm a straight A student. I wake up at 4 a.m. every day. No one has to wake me up. Even to this day, brother, right? I'm a hard worker. I would go to work and my dad never worked. I tell my kids now, you guys, I got to ask you to clean up. When I was around, my dad, he never lifted a pen off of a table. I did everything for him, from the paperwork to the manual labor to whatever you could ever ask for. I did it. I used to wake up so much at 4 a.m. I became a paper boy and got a paper route because I said I'm already up. And then I couldn't go back to sleep. So everyone would go back to sleep at about 6 a.m. and sleep till 7 or 8. I couldn't. So I'd go in and I'd read the newspaper. I was always a bookworm, right? But Google didn't exist. That's another thing. These kids have Google. They don't even use it.
yeah, no, I get it, and I feel like yeah, I mean that to me is also an interesting thing too because I mean if for someone who wants to research something about the truth back in the '90s there wasn't much like you had maybe a page in the Encyclopedia Britannica about something. Maybe if you were lucky enough to have Microsoft Encarta, maybe you might find a page on that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But other than that, like you really had to go to a library and you had to talk to somebody that had knowledge about something and listen to little. I remember scrambling to get cassette tapes, you know, for different lectures of different speakers and trying to listen to stuff. That's how we got put on to people like Imam Siraj Wahaj and Hamza Yusuf because they had put out these materials. But so you were essentially questioned and you were basically somebody ratted you out for asking a question, and so now your father is being aggressive towards you and your family's obviously looking at you with suspicion. So what happens from that point? Did you kind of just lay low for a little bit and then just kind of go along because you were younger? I mean, to talk about that, like what happened after that?
Sure. So, and it was a little bit more than that. It was full on persecution. I got blamed for everything under the sun, the child abuse. I'd say, but by the time I was 13 or 4, by the time I was 14, it ended. Um, but by the time I was 13, my older brothers couldn't fight. Like I put them down, even though like one of them was like a man. He was like 17, 18 years old. I'm 13. I was in karate school too, so I knew, right. So they began to leave me alone by 14, but I laid low. I said maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I shouldn't have questioned it. I don't know what it is. I gave them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe I'm wrong. My dad's right. My family's right. I'll just leave it alone. I won't say a thing. I still didn't do any speeches for them. I didn't do anything for him. And I graduated high school in '97. And that summer I worked for my dad and I started asking questions about the business. Am I a business partner? Do I get paid? I've never gotten paid to this date. I've been working 11, 12 years. I grew up on rap music, on NWA, and Ice Cube. He had that famous diss song, "No Vaseline." So I knew how people get robbed, right? So I was 18, and I just said, okay, so what am I doing here? Because I'm free to go. Before I was 18, I wasn't free to go. Now I can just walk off, and legally you can't do anything, right? I didn't want to be a runaway. So my dad lost a few of his businesses because he trusted the wrong people. And I said I saw an opportunity, and I said, either you pay me $5 a day, I was willing to take 5, or give me my walking papers. So he said, no, I'll think about it. Like he wouldn't even let me walk away. So I said, okay. So a week later, I asked him again. He said, okay, but you're cut off forever. Forever and
No, wait,
ever.
he's gonna pay you, but he's gonna cut you off like
No,
from what?
no. So he said he wouldn't pay me even a penny
Oh,
or a nickel.
oh. So he's
So he
basically
said,
saying, okay, be gone.
I'm not going to make you a business partner. You just work for me as long as I tell you, and I'm never going to pay you. Just shut up and do what you're told. And I said, okay, I need my walking papers. And he agreed to it. He said, okay, but from here on out, you're cut off. You're never going to be a part of me and us. And that's the penalty you're going to have to pay. And I don't think he said it like that written out, but that was the sentiment.
It was implied pretty much that, hey,
right,
you're cutting yourself off right now. Right.
Right,
okay.
right.